Good afternoon. As promised, we tested Zappiti Neo on RTD1619DR processor. Reference and signature models are also included here, as the difference between them, in additional functions, video processing is identical. The test was made to check how different the Zappiti's picture is against its competitors on the same chip, namely Zidoo Z1000 Pro and Dune Real Vision 4K. Well, of course, again I wanted to check what brought the pseudo-technology magic pixel. As stated on the website already version 3.0. Let's take a look at the site. Here is what it says. Tests we will conduct on the same equipment and the same methodology as in the test of the old version of Magic Pixel. Here is a link to the previous video. If you are interested, you can watch the previous video. At the very beginning of the test, we found out that the firmware for the new Zappiti was made by Dune developers. Even the firmware updates for Zappiti are downloaded from the Dune website. Check it out. For those of you who might be interested, there are many references to Dune inside the firmware as well. Moreover, all the code concerning the image settings turned out to be identical. At least we weren't able to find any additional blocks of code which would change anything in the image settings. Thus, taking this into account and considering the fact that the chip is the same, we may assume that the image must be identical to the image produced by the Dune media player on that chip. But this is good. The previous generation of Zappiti Mini 4K player spoiled the image because of the factory crooked settings. It was far from the reference. By the way, Zappiti gives his recommended settings. Here they are. They suggest turning on VS10 for HDR and DV processing. I checked this output option. This output option may well be considered adequate. But there are extra conversions depending on your TV's capabilities. That is, if your TV supports DV, then HDR is converted to DV. I adhere to the principle that any conversion introduces distortion to the image. Let me show you some tests I made. Just to make sure you see that Magic Pixel is completely absent in the new version. It just isn't there. I'm already wondering what will be advertised in Magic Pixel 4.0. The first test is an upscale using VS10 technology. I think you've already seen screenshots from that movie. When reading my friend DJNICE77's posts, it was made with these parameters in the settings. Here are the charts. As we can see, the pictures from Dune and Zappiti are 100% identical. We can compare the screenshots from the capture. As we can see, the pictures are 100% identical. I want to show you the upscale problem with the new chip. Compare the upscale of the old chip and the new one. The new chip applies a large radius when the sharpening filter is applied. Yes, this visually makes the picture more expressive, but small shades and details are lost. Let's check other modes. Maybe there is a difference. For example, the output in DV. Yes, I learned how to do Dolby Vision capture. In fact, it imitates what it would be if our media player outputs to a Sony OLED A1, since it uses EDIT from that TV. This is a Dune. And this is a Zappiti. Again, no difference. Another fragment. This is a table in HDR already known to you from the past videos. Let's compare the results of all three media players. As you can see, there is no difference between Dune and Zappiti, but Zidoo displays a different image. The thing is that Zidoo outputs in 422 12-bit, while the other two in 444 10-bit. And the last picture. This is also a familiar episode. A photo in HDR video. Here we see that there's almost no difference between the three media players. Dune and Zappiti are 100% identical. The difference is only on the red channel peak for Zidoo. Appears probably due to the output difference 422 versus 444. The test of conversion from HDR to SDR unfortunately was not made. And Zappiti had to return to the store. But considering the identity with the Dune, the results should be identical. Well, let's briefly summarize. New Zappiti series is ambiguous. On the one hand, we have more accurate colors with default settings in SDR. But at the same time in HDR there is a problem. So they have to apply either VS10 or include alternative settings. For DV all these machinations are not needed. It is displayed correctly. Plus we have a worse upscale. To get a correct picture in HDR, you need to do some manipulation. Either turn on Zappiti recommended settings using Dolby VS10, or the second option is to switch the black level to full And the parameter preferred HDMI color depth equals as in content. With these settings, you will get HDR as HDR. DV will be output as DV. The levels and gradations will be quite good. The disadvantage of this output option is that not all TVs know how to detect the black level correctly. For example, Philips TV. Or you cannot enable the black level in full. The gradations will be output correctly, but you will lose the brightness peaks. You will have to do this for any of the players on the RTD 1619DR. It is not only for Zappiti, but also for Dune and Zidoo. Of course I want to ask, but where is magic? Where is this mega technology? If in the previous version we at least saw some attempts to use some of their own developments. For example, more optimal parameters for HDR to SDR conversion. But here everything is identical to Dune. Hence the question, if it is necessary to pay more for Zappiti when you can get Dune or Zidoo for less money. This test was rather superficial. In fact, we wanted to see if there is a difference in the new Zappiti players. And if it is necessary to make the same image adjustments as in the previous generation of players. We were convinced that no, we don't need to. But we do need to make different adjustments to get the right image. For those wondering which media players or otherwise streamers produce the best image, I will be posting a new video the other day. It will be a very extensive test of all popular media players under the same conditions. The test will be divided into 3 parts. Because in one video, I cannot fit all the prepared material. And so here is a list of all the players who participated in the test. So subscribe to my channel. The first part is already in the process of video editing. I think it will be interesting. Thanks for the help of my friend from Hungary. Under the nickname DJNICE77. That's all for now. Thank you for watching. See you soon.